Ladies and gentlemen, what's up? We're back. It's episode 153 of the world famous Keepin' It Real podcast. And today I have gone out into the world and I have found one of the top residential and commercial roofing sales reps in the United States. And I'm not even lying when I say that. It is an absolute honor to have our friend, Mr. Mike Herrera, on Keepin' It Real. Mike, how's it going, my friend?
It's going good, Mr. Chuck Allen. Thank you for having me. You flatter me too much, dude.
Well, hey, it's all well-deserved. I can tell you that. I've seen you up on stage being honored for your accomplishments in roofing sales, and I'm super honored to have you on the show. So let's kick this bad boy off in style, Mike. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I know you're one of the superstar roofing sales reps, but it hasn't always been that way. Tell me a little bit about your path to this greatness and how you've ended up where you are today.
So yeah, I've only been in roofing for about 3 years, but it's funny, like, and I had these conversations at times, just looking back to like how God has worked in my life, and it's almost as though everything I've done previously has led me to this, to where all the skills translate into each other. That this is, you know, I have a lot of customers and a lot of volume, but there's certainly jobs that would be more difficult out there to be doing. But basically in my past, you know, I was a college football player. I worked in the medical field for some time. I wanted to go into that field. That ended up not working out. So I've done several things. I've been a fitness director. I've been a personal trainer. I've worked in real estate, worked in the medical field, and it's all just kind of translated as far as organization, you know, keeping multiple things going at once and dealing with chaos. And here I am now as a project manager for RRCA.
Right. And I think that's awesome because you've been through a lot of different higher level professions, and people look at roofing sometimes from the outside and they think, well, you know, you're just a roofer, dude. Like nothing special going on. But you've gone through all these different transitions in your life. You've ended up in the roofing industry. And obviously, it's been good enough for you to stick it out for 3 years. You're with what I consider to be one of the top companies in the United States for sure. At any point during this transition, like when you decided, okay, I guess just one day it happens, I'm going to go sell roofs at RRCA in Naples, Florida. Have you ever Go ahead.
So before this, the immediate job I had before this is I was working with a realtor, and basically cold calling people. Like I would get a list of names and phone numbers, and I would call people and try and convince them to sell their house over the phone. So like, you know, we would target certain areas, and, you know, that cold calling, they're not expecting those calls. So that was, and I had some success doing it. I was very fortunate. And that really was preparation for this, that before I came here and started working at RRCA, you know, I was going to continue doing the real estate farming is what I would call it. And I was going to actually work in a chemical plant because my background and my interest was always sciences. But with that job, you know, the wasn't too sure about it as far as what the position would look like. Working in a chemical plant was going to be management. That when I heard about this opportunity versus everything else that I had done previously, it was so unbelievable and sounded so good that I was, in my mind, the thought was, you know what, this sounds too good to be true.
Uh-oh. Hang on. Okay, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, there was a slight technical difficulty. We don't know what just happened, but I know Mike was in the middle of an amazing story there, and it just kind of got cut short by the internet. So if you remember where you were at exactly in that story.
Roughly.
Okay, so yeah, there we go.
Pretty much what I was doing before this, and it was perfect preparation, was cold calling, working with realtors, trying to convince homeowners to sell their houses over the phone. And I had some success doing that. I was going to go work in a chemical plant, and you know, my background was in science, but I really wasn't in love with that idea. My plan was to take that money that I would make there, plus the real estate money, and do some investments and turn that money into more money. But when I heard about the opportunity here and what roofing was like, and, I saw an opportunity, because at the end of the day, what I saw so clearly, even before I started or knew the ins and outs, was if you just stick to, really focusing on helping people, the money takes care of itself in an industry like this. So I liked the idea that I could be, an integral part of the process of helping homeowners take care of their properties, which a lot of times that's all their wealth. Most people, their wealth is wrapped up in their property. So I like the idea of helping people. When I heard how much, money you can make doing it, it seemed to be not real at the time. But after coming into RRCA and looking around and doing my own investigations, it's very quickly I realized that this was actually true and real. And here I am now, 3 years later, about 3 years.
Coming up on 3 years. That's awesome. Because really, I mean, it takes people a little bit of time to get going in the industry. And a lot of people get discouraged before they hit that moment where they start being successful. In those early days, your first, couple months in, again, you don't start off as a superstar. At least most people don't. Maybe you did, but you get to experience your share of defeat. You get to experience your share of disappointment. Right. At any point in that first stage of your roofing sales career, did you ever think about just freaking quitting? Like, this is not for me. It's not working. I get the door slammed in my face or whatever.
So I was so blessed so quickly, like going out with our sales manager, Harrison, here that very first day. The very first door that I knocked, I got a contingency agreement. The very first door, I got a deal. So I watched Harrison do it one time and then went and knocked on a door. And, even let's say that didn't happen, I don't know. I'm not I don't see all timelines and variables, but I was so motivated going into it comparative to what I was doing before. Not that I didn't enjoy it, but when you're calling people and cold calling and selling over the phone, I just knew in my heart that this is a good place to be and this is where I want to be, and whatever I got to do, I'm going to figure it out. So I was just, blessed that I had this sense of unstoppable momentum before I even had the momentum. So there was nothing that was discouraging me in the beginning. And where that translated to get me on the fast track to where I am now is I racked up probably 20 jobs, 20 contingencies within the first 6 weeks or so. And from there, contingency turns into a job and then you have to build it. I got so many jobs so quickly that I was on the fast track of learning to where I encountered so many different scenarios and so many situations so quickly that I learned through experience on an accelerated track. And that was conducive with where I am now. I don't think we haven't talked in a few months, but I'm a manager with the company, and there's nothing that really surprises me anymore. Like, I don't know everything. I'm learning stuff every single day. But as far as learning the most important aspects and what's really helpful and keeps you going, I was fortunate and blessed to take off so quick that I was just learning and learning and learning through experience. So I never got discouraged. This lifestyle of this job, the freedom that it offers, because I work a lot. I work 7 days a week, but I never feel like an employee. Because really, knowing what you know about roofing, it's as though we're working together. And we were talking about this at the manager meeting. It's you essentially own your own business within the business because you have to run your jobs. So like, I'm not naive. I understand I don't, dish out paychecks to the employees in the office, but we're all a team and we work together. And it's my responsibility to run my book of business. So that opportunity to where I work every single day, but it never feels like I'm working, because at the end of the day, I have the power of that choice. So if I choose to work every single day, so it feels like I'm not, working a 9 to 5 or in an office every single day. But to answer your question, we got a little off track. No, I never felt discouraged.
Well, I think that's awesome. And I think that that's also a byproduct of the environment that you find yourself in. And I got to come down to Florida for 3 months back in the summer last year and hang out with you guys for a little bit. and really be around the culture at RRCA. And I'll say this, the leadership team that's in place there is one of the most impressive I've ever seen. You mentioned Harrison, and I met this guy, and like, you could just tell, you know, this is a dude who's going to take people under their wing. He's going to do things the right way. He's going to give you every opportunity to be successful. And I think that's a direct, you know, a direct correlation to his leadership is the leadership that he receives as well. And, you know, you said just a second ago, you're not naive, and neither one of us are guys who like to stir up too much controversy, but I have one of the top sales reps for RRCA on my podcast, and I'm sure you've seen some of the stuff that's been posted out there that led to, you know, some of the controversy that was going on. In your time, Mike Herrera, as a top sales rep and now manager at RRCA, have you ever felt at any point like you were in any jeopardy of getting taken advantage of not getting paid properly, of having any kind of issues? Or is this RRCA legitimately what Lee Haight professes it to be, which is a extremely solid company that's there to help the people, and that the people that are willing to do the work have the opportunity for unlimited success?
So, you know, seeing all the videos and all the controversy, and I only know our side of things, but it was a bit like I took it personally, because I am someone that's behind the doors here, and I'm someone that's with the company and at a high level with the company. That with all these things being said, it was all very much on the contrary of what the truth actually was that I see here. I've never been taken advantage of. To the contrary, again, in the way that RRCA has treated me, I feel as though it is like we are a legitimate family here. And when it comes to Lee and interactions with Lee and how Lee is, everybody wants everybody to succeed here. No one is against anybody. As far as, you know, I'll just give one example. So following Hurricane Ian, I got a lot of volume very quickly, and Lee wanted to help me. So he wanted to build a team around me, and that all started with an assistant. So the company let me hire my mom as my own personal assistant. My mom has, you know, a little dedicated space here, and she helps me. So that's just an example of, you know, we're a large company, but we're also a family business. And then when it comes to checks going out and paying people that are no longer with us, I see checks going out to people that are no longer with us. So with all that, you know, I don't want to talk too much on that because I don't know these other people, but what I do know is RRCA and Lee and, you know, the owners here, and they could not treat me any better. Like I couldn't be treated any better. And every company tries and offers, and I'm not going to say every, because there's a lot of companies, but there's been many companies that have tried to snake me away from here and offer me these crazy deals and all this stuff. And it doesn't even cross my mind for a second to leave here because of how well I've been treated.
Yep. And to me, you know, part of the reason why I did spend 90 days down there was because I wanted to be a part of that as well. I've known Lee for several years, and he's always been super good to me as well. Like, I've only bought one thing from him ever, which was the Sky Diamonds University 7 years ago. And I mean, I got to speak on stage at his conference. I got to go down there and do a telethon and be on his podcast. Solid guy in my book. You know, I think that Lee gets misunderstood a lot. And I thank you for answering that honestly, because it's not very often you get to hear the other side of that story. So I appreciate that. And I won't hit you with anything crazy like that again.
There's many times, on the contrary, where the company will compromise itself to help, you know, people in my position, sales reps or project managers. And again, you know, when all that was going out, I don't know the other parties. I don't form opinions on anybody if it's outside of my personal interaction with them. But when it comes to my person, so I can only speak to my personal interaction with the company here, is what I'm saying. It's a family here. There's no dishonesty. When you're interacting with Lee, there's no, you know, everything's truthful. I think people, you know, to take the social media stuff and whatever else, and they twist things, but that's not the truth of the nature, which Lee's a good person. He does right by everybody that's here.
Yep. And that's, you know, that's the most important thing. And you develop people from within. I saw the leadership there. I see people that are, you know, more than capable. You could literally go start your own roofing company right now, Mike, and be extremely successful, but you understand the value of having that leadership, that mentorship, the ability to, you know, work within those parameters. And, you know, like you said, why would you ever even consider doing something else when it's that good to you? And I respect that. That's always been my mindset too. It was never about money for me. It's always been about enjoying myself, feeling appreciated, and knowing that I'm making a difference in someone's life. And I think that is the perfect segue, because really the thing that impresses me the most about you is just your attitude in general. You don't seem like you ever get overly stressed out for someone that's doing the volume that you do. And I'm not going to ask you to tell a number, but you've done multiple $1 million producer annually. And if you want to say the number, you're more than welcome. It's
I don't want to
not
say
bragging, but you know, you're one of the top guys, and you don't get overwhelmed by it. You maintain your composure. Like you said, you don't get surprised by things. And I think that's very commendable. And I think a lot of people that get successful in roofing sales don't possess that ability, myself included. Like, I freak out a lot, you know, and I've got a million different things going on at once. So talk a little bit about that, because anybody that's in this industry that's been selling, most people that watch this aren't selling at the same level you are, including myself. But I've been stressed out, you know, as a $1 million plus residential producer. I know what it's like to have multiple jobs going all over the place at different times, and different problems happening. Tell me what a normal day looks like, and tell me what your process is when you are trying to handle multiple things and it should be overwhelming you, but it's not. What's that look like for you inside your head?
So I think besides processes, a lot of it has to do with really where God has taken me and my experiences leading up to this. And, you know, I was blessed to have strife in my life at one point. If that statement makes sense, I'll make it make more sense. So, you know, I wanted to go into the medical field. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a physical therapist. I wanted to do a few different things in the medical field. I worked in the medical field, and then I ended up having injuries and getting sick, and, you know, the doctors dealing with a lot of pills. And I don't want to go too deep into that, but had substance abuse issues in the past. You know, everything I was taking was being given to me, but that led to a very dark time, to where my health was declining and it was getting bad. And then one day I just stopped it all. And, you know, just cold turkey, I stopped it all. I realized that the treatments and were not conducive with the path of healing. And it was very frustrating to me, because everything I was doing, I was trusting doctors. And there's plenty of good doctors out there. I'm not bashing doctors, but I was so, from that experience, there was a 2-year period where I was just living miserably. Like, I was in pain, physical pain, 24/7. I couldn't feel my hands for 2 years. For 2 years, I couldn't like sleep. My sleep schedule was essentially 2 days no sleep and then 1 day sleep. And you know, at the end of the day, it was bad decisions to even take the medicines in the first place. But at the same time too, they were being given to me. But I do take responsibility that it took a lot of courage to stop. But with you know, thank God that was God given. But with that came a really bad period. It was like, all I ever wanted to be, backing up a little bit, all I ever wanted to be was a professional football player. And then when I went to the next level, I was at a top 25 Division II school, realized that wasn't going to happen. And my goals and my priorities changed. But, you know, I was lucky. I don't know if the word is lucky, but following that, wanted to be a bodybuilder, became a sponsored bodybuilder, wanted to be all these things, wanted to be a doctor. So like, wanted to be a DJ at the same time. So like, when I was going to school, once I got done playing football, I was DJing, studying in school, working in the medical field, and a sponsored bodybuilder at the same time. So that was like a taste of success, or God show me, if you will. Like, you know, I've just always been blessed that I could pick up things quickly and achieve goals quickly. But then once my health declined, having been so fortunate to accomplish goals so quickly and feel so good, it was like a very dark period that happened, you know, following that, which now, having come through it, I realized that was the biggest blessing of all. Like, having gone through that period, having made the bad decisions and having to pay those prices, I am so thankful to God that that happened, because that all translated to bring the answer to the question back around to where now nothing, just really nothing bothers me. Because at the end of the day, you know, there was a period where I would have 3 builds going on in one day. And, you know, you're running around, you're dealing with this stress. It's construction, so there's going to be problems. And it's about how you react to the problems. But nothing really phases me, because at the end of the day, like, I'm pain-free. I get to go home and I can sleep at night. And being so grateful, it's always an attitude of gratitude, to where I think, and this is all to answer your question, I think what keeps me able to handle the stress, now I think I know, is from having been subjected to a massive amount of stress previously, that no matter how bad it gets, everything could fall apart on a day. At the end of the day, it's not that bad. Every problem has a solution. So it's all about no lag time. When stuff starts going bad, you don't just, not that stuff's constantly going bad, but when there's issues, you don't just disappear and not pick up the phone, you know, on a customer, not deal with them, because we are project managers. You have to manage the project. You deal with the problems, and then they're solved, and it's not that bad. So again, to circle back to answer your question, it just, having gone through everything in the past, and then being so grateful, you know, to have gone through that, just nothing bothers me.
That's commendable, you know, and they always say that which does not kill you only makes you stronger. And I'm a firm believer in that. You know, the last couple of years have been very forgettable. I'd like to forget a lot of things that have happened, but I'm still standing, and it just makes you better. So that's a wonderful attitude to have. And I think that, you know, it's very necessary, because I was talking a while back, I don't remember who the guest was, but we were talking about how your homeowners are going to respond accordingly to the way that you're responding. And I always said, you know, if I show up at someone's house and I start freaking out because of whatever, that's just going to amplify their level of freaking out. And it could be something super, super minor, but in their world, it's the biggest thing that's happening that day, you know, and understanding and respecting that concept is something that took me a long time to get to. But I also realized, you know, hey, things happen. I can calm people down pretty well. Even on the inside, I'm freaking out, wondering, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? But it only makes things worse if you handle things, you know, in an aggressive manner. So much respect for that. I think your mindset, your mentality, and just your nature in general are really conducive to helping people that are having issues and are having to go through something that's traumatic or an experience that they don't feel comfortable with, because you just got that likability. So
I'm sorry to cut you off. I didn't want to lose my thought, but that's the biggest thing that I think a lot of guys don't realize, is they look at it as simply, you know, since I've been working here for 3 years, or not even 3 years yet, just about 3 years in the industry and with this company, I can't even tell you the amount of people I've seen come and go. But I think there needs to be a shift to where it shifts from sales. I'm a salesman, sell jobs, to where when I sign that contract with somebody, I'm putting my name as a promise to them that I'm going to take care of them and that they can trust me. So when there's issues and you show up, you got to always keep in mind, and this is not even when you're showing up, there's so much in the background that you need to take care of to delegate these issues and take care of the homeowner, that when you sign your name on that contract, you're promising that person that you're going to take care of them. This is not a sale. They're not entering into an agreement with you thinking like, oh yeah, he just sold me this roof. you're entering into that agreement with them that they think you're going to take care of them, you and the company. And as a project manager, a lot of responsibility falls on you. And when you sign that name, as in me, the project manager, you are promising to take care of them. So since the very beginning, that was something that was very attractive to me about this job, because in my past, when I wanted to be in the medical field, I've always, regardless of anything, you know, wanting to get out of the medical field, whatever, I always had a heart where I wanted to help people. So I think we touched on this previously. When they're trusting you with their home, you may not be saving their life, but you are helping them tremendously, because they're trusting you with what is essentially their biggest investment. So I think that's helped me a lot, that I've never had the mentality as though I'm a salesman, because I never really sell. Like, people ask me, what's your pitch? What do you go in with? I'm not even sure what I say. I mean, not that I'm not sure. What I mean is I don't have a pitch, because I am just explaining them information. I'm meeting their needs, and I'm solving problems for them, and telling them what it is I have to offer. That I'm never really selling. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. You answered my next question right there, which was going to be basically, okay, to explain this process. So you've got a client that needs your help. You go out to their home, you assess the situation. What does it look like from that point to the end, as far as your involvement in the process? Like you just said, you're like me. I don't have a sales pitch. Every person is different. Everybody's got a different, you know, way of understanding or way of learning. Everybody's needs are different. They react in different ways. So I don't have a canned speech. I never have. Kind of feel out the crowd and go from there. But let's just, you know, a typical, you know, regular one of your 50,000 customers you service in a year. Let's say that you've got, you know, a nice person. They need your help. You get there, you do your initial. Now you sit down with them. What are some of the things that you discuss with your homeowners when you're sitting there and you're, like you said, not selling them? You're earning their trust through this process.
So one thing I like to do is, you know, I'll hop up on the roof. It all depends, I suppose, how it is that I've arrived there at the first place. So that's another blessing I have, to where, you know, I started about a year or so before Hurricane Ian, and I really took heart in trying my best to take care of people. That once Hurricane Ian hit, my phone just never stopped ringing, and it's still ringing now. And here we are, you know, 14, 15 months since Hurricane Ian, that I haven't knocked a single door since Hurricane Ian. I've just been word of mouth referral. But let's pretend I showed up, you know, word of mouth referral. The first thing we're going to do is talk about the situation a little bit, and, you know, see what's going on. Is there any leaks? You know, basically figure out why it is that they called me out there that day. So then I'm going to hop on the roof, see what I see there. But I want to get the customer involved, right? Because typically people are more likely to make a decision out of fear than they are, you know, out of you know, I'll just say it that way. They're typically going to make a decision out of fear. Meaning, if they don't know why they need a roof replacement, or they don't know the particulars about the insurance process, or they just feel like it's some sort of situation that's too big for them to handle, I'm going to inform them and show them to make it very, very clear. So one thing I like to do is, after I've seen the roof, I'll sit down at the kitchen table, and I'll have my, I'll have a roofar with me, or some relevant information about the property already, but I'll actually fly my drone from inside the house, sitting next to them. So we look at the roof together. And to me, I like to say things without saying them. So it's like, okay, I need to show a customer that I'm organized and I'm a professional. So I'll talk to them around my car. And if they're around, I'll walk to the back of my car to grab the paperwork. And a lot of times they'll follow me to the back of the car. They could see that I have a filing cabinet with everything pre-organized and binders. And I'm already showing them without telling them, you know, hey, I'm an organized professional. You could see it in the back of my car, and it's with me all the time. So, you know, once we sit down, and to bring it back to this, I'm eliminating the fear, because I'm showing them and not telling them that, hey, I'm organized. Before I showed up to your house today, I already have the measurements. I already know the price as to where this is going to be, whether it's retail or if it's an Xactimate and we're looking at an insurance situation. And then I show them the drone. So they, 9 out of 10 people aren't getting on their roofs. So when I pull out the drone and we look at it together, they could see, okay, there is a problem with the roof. And then also when I'm showing them with the drone, I explain to them the anatomy of the roof, where typically problems occur, what this component is. Here you have a 4 foot off ridge vent. Here you have a 4-inch goose. And, when we zoom in close, you could see here that you're having a leak here, right? So you can see right here that the seal is a little bit broken, and this likely was happening with some high winds and broke that seal and was letting some water in that area. So that's probably where your leak. You see what I'm saying? So I go through that with them and eliminate the fear, because it's like, okay, can I trust this guy? Well, he seems pretty organized, which I am. Thank God I have the mind to organize. Well, does this guy really know what he's talking about? By the end, we go through that drone. I've already taught you more about the roof than 90% of people know about roofs. And then once I explain what the process is and what it is I have to offer, that's what really seals the deal. It's almost as though I'm never really selling.
Man, I'll tell you what, that is awesome. I got goosebumps from your little talk right there, because I feel the same way. I love educating. I was doing the drone thing a long time ago. I used to take them out and I'd put it on the back of my truck and we'd fly it around and I'd show them on my big iPad. But I love the fact that you come prepared, and this is going to be a little bit of a segue. I'm going to let the fans know. I love the fact that you come prepared. You've got your roof measurements. You've got your estimate in hand. You know what your project is going to entail. Let me ask you this, Mike. You mentioned a very specific company. They are my primary sponsor, which is Roofer. And I have to say this, they have done so much for me over the last 5 years, sponsoring my podcast, helping my roofing business out tremendously. Without Roofer, I don't know that Keeping It Real would be a real thing at this point. So I always like to give all the glory to Roofer, thank them for what they do. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to share this very quick 20-second ad from my sponsor. And then when we come back, I've got a good question about the drone. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go, my man.
We're Roofer. We know that managing a roofing business can be chaotic, so we created a single platform with all the tools you need to easily run your roofing business. Stop switching between multiple different softwares and experience streamlined operations from lead to payments in hours instead of days. Visit roofr.com to get started for free today.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. So that's Roofer. I appreciate everything they do for me. I've got their full CRM and I utilize it to its fullest potential. I love what you said about the drone and getting homeowners interactive with your process. That to me is the most important thing. They always say, give them something to touch, something to smell. In this case, they're legit, like basically getting on their roof virtually, and they're looking at everything in real time with you. The question I have for you, Mike, this is the $1 million question. Have you ever been sitting at a dining room table with a homeowner, flying your drone around, and all of a sudden the screen goes black because you've crashed it into something that you didn't see because you were inside the house? Have you ever had that happen?
So no, I've not had that exact scenario happen. And it's funny that you say that, because I had the DJI 2 for a while and I crashed it not sitting with the homeowner. I crashed it in my car because they had these just the tallest trees, some of the tallest trees I've ever seen in my life, that, I always tell like new guys trying to mess with the drone or think about getting a drone, that once you get higher than the trees and higher than everything else, you got nothing to really worry about. I didn't get higher than these trees. So I crashed that drone, but it turned out to be a good thing, turning bad into good, that I was able to get myself a Christmas gift this year of the DJI 4, the Mini 4. So I was happy to crash it, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. Not going to say it was intentional, but okay. It's like when I crashed my car and I decided I had to get a brand new car rather than getting it fixed, because the right thing to do. So I can appreciate that. My drone is in a pond in Ohio. It's been there since Christmas of 2018. And I'm planning on getting another one here at some point. Yeah, it's my story was heroic, but made one mistake. Yeah, I made one mistake, and it's like I'm a terrible pilot. You know, you're an airline pilot. You only get to crash once. You get labeled for life. But mine was heroic. I was saving a kid's Christmas toy, and I did that successfully. And then just, you know, something very fluky happened. And I know what it's like to watch a DJI Mavic from 275 feet straight up in the air fall right through and crack a pond that's about that thick with ice, never to be seen again.
It's done.
Yeah. I know it's still there. It's probably just hanging out. Battery's probably dead by now in it. But yeah, that was a lot of fun with the drone. And I always like to ask those weird questions. But you crashed yours in a normal circumstance, never crashed it in front of a homeowner. Have you ever let a homeowner control the drone during the inspection?
So I actually let a homeowner was essentially enthralled with it. Like he had never seen one in person, and he thought it was just the coolest thing. So I let him fly it a little bit because there was no trees anywhere. It was like a huge open space. There was nothing to hit. So again, once you get high enough, I was fairly confident. You know, when you have it on scenic mode, there's no nose diving. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
So there's no like nose diving this. It would I felt confident. So I let him fly it. And when we wrapped up the roofing project, he actually got his own drone, the same exact one. And I went back to his house and taught him how to use it when I was picking up the final check. So I've let a few people fly it. But you know, again, it's not like, I don't think it's high risk. It's open spaces.
Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen that are watching this, that are in sales, roofing, or anything related to that, let the customer fly the drone, because that is the greatest social proof you'll ever get. I remember in College Station, Texas, this was probably 6-7 years ago. I was in this neighborhood, and I remember the lady's name. I won't say it. It's a funny name, but I won't say it out of respect. She might not even be alive anymore. But I go to her house, and I told her, you know, I'm not going to climb on your roof because it was like a 16-12 pitch. I said, you know, I'm too old, too fat. I ain't trying to die. But we're going to fly the drone. And I let her fly the drone. And this lady started just freaking out, right? And out comes her next door neighbor. And she's like, I don't remember his name. I'll just call him Mike. Mike, look at me, flying the drone. My roofers let me fly the drone. And this guy comes over. I let him fly the drone, even though he wasn't even a prospect. I ended up roofing his house after the fact too. So those drones they're very good for convincing people that you're the right person to work with. I'll say that.
Well, it's funny how that worked for you. You were just being nice to this homeowner, and then more homeowners came out and you sold more jobs. It's again coming back to, you know, just your integrity and doing the right thing and being nice and being good, and then it just all falls into line.
There's a little bit of strategic placement there. Like I'm flying my drone at 5:30 p.m. when everybody just got home from work and things like that.
Now they're strategic after that happened, because you saw that it worked, but in that moment, maybe not.
Yeah, it flipped a switch for me literally, and I was like, wow, okay. And I've seen my drones go down a couple of times, but it is what it is. So that's a cool aspect of what we do, and being able to bring a different element that a lot of roofing salespeople just don't bring. So we covered this initial part. You've gotten to the home, you've talked to the prospect, you've educated them. You've given them a next level presentation that's not a sales pitch. You've taught them everything that they need to know to now go out and basically sell roofs. But it's time to do the project now. They say, okay, this guy Mike is pretty legit. He, you know, he's taught me a lot of stuff. He's got cool hair. He's a nice dude. I want to work with Mike, and I want to work with RRCA. So you sign the deal. And now the deal is going to go into production. And this is where everybody's company is a little bit different. So what does your process look like when you're putting a job into production, as far as when you turn the folder in? What steps do you still take from that point forward to make sure the job goes according to schedule, to make sure everything's done right? What are your responsibilities to the job after the sale and before the final payment?
So this is where, again, ownership, and Lee uses this a lot, extreme ownership comes into play. So we are involved in the production of the job. So meaning, you know, at this point, to touch on what was said previously, I've promised this person I'm going to take care of them, and now all my actions have to align with that promise. So there's two sides of this. everything I do, I don't like to do stuff later. I like to do stuff now because I got too much stuff to do. So when you put things off and you don't move quick, you know, speed and momentum is your ally. I always say organize, prioritize, and execute. So I'm going to let the customer know everything that I'm doing in real time because I want them to feel involved and I don't want them to wonder because they're trusting me. So the first thing I'm going to do, at this point, I've already created my financials. So I've created my material order. I've created my work order. I know what everything looks like. I know where all the pieces are at this time. You know, you have the NOC, which is what you need to get the permit, the notice of commencement. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that folder in and I'm going to turn in the money. And then I'm going to, we use Job Nimbus as our CRM. Love Job Nimbus. Love Job Nimbus. So I'm going to keep notes as well of everything I'm doing on the day that I do it. So I have a reference. But once I turn in that folder, I'm going to go and talk to production and say, hey, checks turned in. You know, customer care has it. They're putting on the account. When can we order the materials? So if we can order the materials that day, I'm going to email the material provider, and as long as I have permission from Dustin, our production manager, say, you know, can I email him? Okay, whatever. So I'm going to email them the material order, CC Dustin on it, whatever. Or if they send it first, they send it first. But basically what I'm trying to paint the picture of is the pieces are moving, if possible, that day. And then once I get acknowledgement that it's ordered, I'm going to let the homeowner know in that very moment, hey, materials are ordered. I'm just letting you know what's going on. We're waiting on a date. Same thing that when I turn in that folder, you know, we have a different department for permitting. I'm going to look and ensure that the NOC's filed, the permit's being applied for. And, you know, when it has, and that permit comes back, I take a screenshot the moment it comes back. Because the way Job Nimbus works is I'm getting alerts on my phone in real time. So if the permit gets posted to the job account, I'm going to know the moment it gets posted. So as long as I'm not like, you know, sitting with the customer or doing something that I can't send in that very moment I get that note that the permit came back, I'm going to screenshot the front page of the permit. And I'm going to send it to the homeowner. Hey, letting you know we got the permit. We're ready to rock and roll soon. Okay, great. So once we get the permit, and again, you know, all these pieces moving, I'm letting the homeowner and doing everything I can I'm letting the homeowner know and doing everything I can to get the pieces moving as quickly as possible. And once we have a date with materials, and once, you know, we've already have the permit at this point, once we have a date with materials, I'm going to go and talk to production and say, hey, materials are dropping on Tuesday. Can we start this Wednesday? And it's typically a yes, you know, either the following day or the day after that. And I'm letting the homeowner know just every step of the way. So if you know, we'll know a little bit in advance. We'll get an email. Hey, these materials are going out tomorrow. So in that moment, I'm going to immediately let the homeowner know that, hey, the materials are dropping tomorrow. They're going to put them here. You know, we're going to need at least one side of your driveway. Every situation is different because there's all different types of materials. You know, if it's tile, the process is a little bit different. If it's shingle, the process is a little bit different. They're all a little bit different. But does that answer the question? It's more so, it's not more so one action. It's a series of actions. So I'm doing everything I can do to move with speed and momentum and get it built as quickly as possible and letting the homeowner know everything I'm doing as I'm doing it.
Yeah, see, it's really that simple, folks. Like, you stay in communication with your client. You don't put them in a situation where they wonder what's going on. You maintain that throughout the entire process. You maintain clear expectations with the homeowner throughout. You maintain communication with your office, and you actually show up and care. And guess what happens? You become one of the top sales reps in the United States that way. It's really that easy. There's not a secret. The only secret is do that, right? So many people don't. So many people try to skirt those responsibilities. And I've seen a lot where it's like, you know, we turn in the job and then we never see the job again. We never see the homeowner again. The project manager is a different person. And for me, I love the way that you do it because it's the way I've always wanted to do it as well, because I'm very hands-on. I told a gentleman here in San Antonio 4 years ago, I sold a roof to a guy. And I was the most expensive roofer by a pretty good margin. I'm not going to lie. I'm proud of that, quite frankly. And I ended up being so much better than the competition here in San Antonio, Texas, which I just said that on my social media and on my podcast, I'm so much better than the people in San Antonio that my 3-tab price was like $1,000 more than the leading competition's architectural. That seems like a pretty tough sale, right? Well, it really wasn't, because I told the guy, look, you're going to get me for the rest of your life. You're not going to get me with any of these other packages. You're going to get a shingle. You're going to get some 30-pound felt or whatever. You're getting me. And the truth of the matter is $1,000 is probably a miscalculation, because I probably should be about $10,000 more than everybody else just based on what you're getting. And I'll be darned, Mike, last week on Wednesday, I get a random phone call, and it's this same gentleman from 4 years ago. And he starts off by saying, you know, my name is yada, yada. You probably don't remember me. And I was like, of course I do. I said, I told you 4 years ago that if you ever called me, I'd be there for you. So here I am. And he's got a minor issue on his roof, but he was amazed that I remembered all the details about it before I ever even went over there. I said, you've got those 2 solar vents on the one side that you bought off Amazon. We'll see if they're still working. You know, laugh, because I was going to put attic breeze. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, that's great that you remember me. I really appreciate it. But at the end of the day, I gave that guy my word 4 years ago. If you pick me, which on paper is not the smartest decision, because anybody that knows numbers can look and say, well, this one's got a 30 year, this one's a 25. Everything's better with this package, except this one costs more. This dude made the choice to go with the one that costs more because he got me. And I believe 100% in that mindset. Once you get me, you're stuck with me, you know? And I tell my clients, you're going to see me in the grocery store one day, and I don't want you throwing your eggs at me saying that some bitch right there's the biggest crook in town. I want you to come over and give me a hug. Tell me how awesome I am. Tell me how great your roof is serving you all these years later. And I think that's the common denominator with great people that are sales people, is that we're not really salespeople at all. And with you, I really like the fact that you maintain that throughout. You keep that constant communication. So let's fast forward just a little bit past the pre-build. You get into the build stage of the job. Okay. At this point, I know that RRCA is a large company and has, goodness gracious, I don't even know how many people or offices or what, but it's a lot, right? So there's a lot of moving parts. When you get to build day and you're there looking at it, obviously I don't assume you spend the entire day at your jobs, but I'm sure you're in and out periodically. What does it look like for you when you're running the job on build day, as far as, you know, are you the dude they call and say, hey, Mike, I'm short a bundle of ridge caps, I need you to go get it? Or what are your levels that you do as it pertains to that?
So I will be at every single build that is important, and certain ones I will be there the entire day. With running materials, I drive a 2023 Kia Sportage, so I can run some shingles and some rolls, but you know, drip edge isn't going to happen.
That's a good move. I made the same one.
But direct interaction. If you want to ensure that, and again, it's organized, prioritize, and execute. So if it's a very simple build and there's a low margin of, you know, there's not a real great chance that there's going to be a major problem, I'll be there for a few hours, but there still will be other appointments that day. Just on Saturday, there was a complicated build. That was a tile roof. You know, the client has been through a lot with Hurricane Ian, and won't go into all the details, but I was there before the crew got there, and I left after the crew left. And it's just direct involvement, and just being there and being present, you know, keeps everybody a little bit more accountable. They know that the project manager is there. You're there to delegate issues, whatever those issues may be. If I have to run materials and I'm there, and not, you know, if I'm there and I didn't have another appointment or for whatever reason, every situation is different. I have hundreds and hundreds of projects. This is a tough question to answer precisely, because every single one's different. Like if it's our tilt core guys, the Kennys, when it's day to put that tilt core on, they have a very, very good track record that, you know, I'll be there for the dry-in because that's where the issues could potentially occur. But if they're going there to put in the tilt core, I know I can trust those guys. So not that I can't trust anybody else, but you know what I'm saying? I know that they're specialists in what they do. So when you have hundreds and hundreds of jobs, every situation is different, but basically doing everything I can do, whether it's directly there on person, which it almost always is, or it's going in the background. If they say they need materials and they can't get Dustin on the phone, I talk to the crew leader and I say, okay, you know, go and grab the materials, and we figure it out. We just figure out and solve problems, whatever those problems may be.
I like it. And it's good because being on site with the crew repetitively, they gain a ton of respect for you because they're not used to seeing that. And they're used to guys that, you know, drive by, throw something out the window and move on to the next thing.
Well, I'll clean up the job site myself at times. Like I've had jobs that got handed to me that previous reps had, whether they left the company or, you know, there was an issue and they send me in to solve the problems. I am happy to clean that property and earn that customer's trust. At the end of the day, the golden rule for me, what it all comes down to, and how I try and live my life, both professionally and just my life in general, is, and this is a blanket rule, is just treat people as you would want to be treated. It's as simple as that. So if I sign a contract with some guy, I want you to take care of me. If I'm the company, I want you to put notes in our CRM and let everybody know what's going on and take care of, you know, your book of business. You see what I mean by blanket rule? Like that one simple rule even applies to yourself. You want to be stress-free, be organized. Don't wonder where things are. Know where things are as much as you can. You've been doing this longer than I have, but in my almost 3 years, there's going to be things you just simply can't control. There's going to be a ever-present chaos factor that's going to always be there. So the way to mitigate that and make that as tiny as possible is control everything that you can control and accept that there will be chaos, but you're going to be there to deal with it. Do it and do it now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Captain Chaos, man. That's my alter ego. I deal with that stuff on a regular basis. And, you know, life wouldn't be any fun if everything was easy and everything went smoothly and there were never any problems. And I think our ability to resolve the issues in a timely manner and do it the best possible way with as few, you know, injuries as possible is what defines us as people. And it's what separates the average from the, you know, the ones who go out and achieve at high levels. So nothing but respect. You and I have.
It's a mindset thing. Like I'm like you're almost grateful for the problems because it puts purpose in your role as project manager. It's not that you want there to be problems, but when there is a problem and you solve it and that customer is like, Mike, man, thank you so much. I'm really, really glad I went with you guys. Or customers, like you said, reaching out to you years later. I've got multiple customers that I've become personal friends with. The reward is in solving the problems. It's almost more rewarding. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense.
Nobody.
You don't ever want problems, but I invite them sometimes as well because it gives you the chance to show what you're made of. I like addressing, you know, I tell people all the time, they think I'm crazy. One of my favorite things is a pissed off homeowner. Like I love going in there and being able to de-escalate a situation. And I had Becca Switzer on a couple weeks ago and we were joking about this, but I used to work at this restaurant called White Castle. And White Castle is like the drunk, like crazy stuff happens at night place. And I learned how to de-escalate a lot of bad situations from my years of working there because I'd have drunks. I'd have people that were, you know, very unreasonable, wanting to get loud and aggressive. And homeowners are the same way. You know, again, I think homeowners are conditioned to think that they're getting screwed by any contractor because the media, you know, and I don't want this to be a political thing, but they only really emphasize the bad things. I don't see a whole lot of really good things that roofers are doing unless it's in our own community. But you turn on the TV and it's, you know, Mrs. Jones over here just got screwed. Her contractor stole her money, blah, blah, blah. And being able to instill that trust in people and have them know, even if things don't go perfect, we're going to take care of it. You've got the best guy for the job. It's invaluable. And I think that that is something that really separates the great from the good. And, you know, the average don't even ever figure that out. But that's some really good stuff right there, Mike. We're coming up on our hour. I have two questions I want to end this with. If it goes a little bit over, I
You
hope
don't
that's
wanna go
okay.
for 4 hours, man? No, I don't
We're
have to go 4 hours.
we're gonna do a live. We're gonna do the Chuck and Mike show. It's gonna be like every Friday, and it'll be 4 hours every Friday. We'll get
Oh, that's a
sponsors.
good
We'll play
idea.
music. We'll do it all.
Order some
But
roof bars,
yeah, absolutely.
roofers.
I'll do them for free on here and show everybody what's up. But the big question for you, okay, you're 3 years in, you found immediate success in roofing sales, which is atypical, but it's great because it got you in and really motivated you to take yourself to the high level that you're at. 3 years is not that long. You've got the rest of your life. What are your plans moving forward? Do you plan on sticking with roofing sales for the duration? Is it something you're going to stick with until you find something that maybe is a little better in your mind or a little different? Or what's your thought process on your career moving forward, 5-10 years down the road?
So I believe that for me, this funnels into many things. So I have a second company or LLC where I do some capital investment, and I have plans for that and some other things I want to get going. But it is not very difficult to I don't want to talk, how much I make or whatever else, but it's not difficult to make. You don't need many jobs to make what is considered a good amount of money. That I don't see myself, I'll be doing this for years to come is what I'm saying, because the way that I view this is an opportunity to help people and essentially print money. Now, what I mean by that is I could have nothing to do today, and I could just make some phone calls, or I can go out to one of my homeowners that we had a great interaction, and I can just get a job just like that. I could print several $1,000s today. What else? There's other things out there, and there's I don't mean to again sound arrogant, but as far as for what this job is and the ability to essentially print money and help people at the same time and the lifestyle that it offers, I'm going to be doing this for years to come. But as far as my plans that are going to work together with this, I have several plans. So I have another company, a capital investment company that I started last year, and I've been doing some investing, and I'm just planning to diversify. Diversify is really the mantra of this year.
I like that. And I agree with you 100%. I've had all my eggs in the same basket for 25 years. And sometimes that's awesome, and sometimes it's horrible. But I think diversification is key. The last question I always love to ask every single guest. And first off, I'd like to say this. Thank you, Mike Herrera, for taking the time out of your day. We had a little bit of a schedule snafu yesterday. I appreciate the fact that you took today and you're here doing Keepin' It Rio. This has been awesome for me. And I didn't even realize how much you and I had in common, even though I've been around you, quite a bit when I was in Florida. I never really got to sit and talk like this. So I really appreciate your mindset, your perspective. If somebody watching this program, and I always I start this off by saying this will be seen by millions of people. It might be 100 years from now. We might both be long gone, but at some point the algorithm's going to give me millions of views of Keepin' It Real. I'll be famous long after I'm gone. Anybody who's watching this and they say, you know what, this guy, Mike, he seems like a regular dude. He didn't have a lot of construction experience going into this. He's become highly successful at it, and he looks like he's really enjoying his life. I want to be like that guy. I want to follow his journey. I want to just touch base and tell him, hey, man, I just got into roofing sales because of you. What is the best way for the general public to follow you, to keep an eye on your journey, to be inspired by your success? Because whether you know it or not, every single time you post a video of another roof that's getting an upgrade with the hashtag RRCA upgrade, it inspires people. People are watching what you're doing and they're saying, man, that guy right there is making a difference. How do we follow Mike Herrera across the board? And how do we, watch his journey as he continues to dominate?
So first, I want to say thank you for having me. And this is the sincere truth for everybody that watches this, and the millions of viewers that are going to watch this for years to come. When Chuck asked me, I was to be on the podcast, I was very happy to do so, because Chuck is, I meet a lot of people in roofing. I'm the networking guy, so they send me to networking events, meet a lot of people. Chuck is one of the most sincere and just good-hearted guys that I've met since I've been doing this. So all the viewers, keep watching Chuck, because he's a good guy. But as far as if you want to see me and see roofs that I'm doing and projects that I'm doing, Instagram would be the best place. So my Instagram is Hike_Herrera. So it's the first letters of my name inverted. So HIKE_MERRERA.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, see, you've given me a real situation now, Mike. I had already planned earlier what the teaser clip was going to be, and it was going to be you talking good about RRCA, but I didn't anticipate that little promo about myself at the end. So I might just, this might just have gone off rail here, and I might just be self-serving with this clip, and it might just be you saying how great I am. Either way, this whole episode will be out next Tuesday. This is, what did I say, episode 153.
153.
And we're killing it, man. 153 is the multi-bazillion-dollar man himself, Hike Herrera. Thank you very much for your time. Everybody, thanks for watching Keeping It Real. You guys, I wouldn't do it without, well, I say I wouldn't do it without you, but I would, because I love talking to people. And it's just the most fun thing that there is to do. So I appreciate everybody for their support. I appreciate my sponsors. I have a few potential sponsors in the works right now as well to take this to another level. And we'll see how that all plays out. But couldn't do it without the fans. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate Mike. I definitely appreciate everybody at RRCA. That's something I wanted to also make very clear. I respect everybody there because I spent 90 days in Naples. I've been in that office, and I've talked to the actual people that make that thing run. So I respect everybody there. They're the best in the industry. And until next time, Mike, I always end with the most corny tagline that you've ever heard, but it's my thing. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, keep on keeping it real.